Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Claressa Shields. Is she in a 360 deal? We do know she has two different contracts in place. One with Dmitry Salita, the traditional boxing contract. Then she has a contract with Wynn Records and Papoose. That's what we believe to be the 360 deal. It is a 360 deal. But the thing is it good or is it bad? Anyway, we had a call last night from one of my good friends, and he had something to say. So I ended up looking into it, and I'm doing a video on it today. But listen to what he said. All right, bye. Go ahead, caller. Hello.
Hey, Chief, how you doing?
I'm good. Oh, OG, what's going on with you?
Hey, what's going on?
Go ahead.
I want to say hello to Lady London and all the Hoodettes. And let's get down to business, brother.
Go ahead.
Now, on the Claressa's contract, that contract is a 360 deal. It's only given out by entertainment companies. Okay? So what they did, they promised her, hey, we can even let you make some records while you're here, and you got to sign. But a 360 deal and a boxing contract are two different things. The boxing contract cares about the boxer. The 360 is not so much. They're into entertainment, just about everything that has to do with entertainment. With the boxing contract, the promoter takes the bulk of the deal, and they promote everything. They pay everything out. Claressa's not doing that because she gave it up when she took the 360 deal. You see where I'm coming from?
I'm tracking 100%.
Okay, so they are not privileged to that gate fare because as a promoter in a boxing contract, you pay it out, and then everything else that comes in from that, you've already got it. So you're just trying to get your money back. But these guys are slick. They know that they don't have to pay anything if they can get out of that boxing contract type of situation. I told Lady London, go on ChatGPT and put in what is the difference between a 360 deal and a boxing contract, and you'll get your answer, Chief. And let me tell you, it's going to be shocking because they are taking her to the cleanest. She has to pay everything. She has to pay for that situation on the 15th, and they'll be yanking some more money out of her pocket for the stuff on the 29th.
That is,
did you hear me?
Yeah, that is crazy. So that explains why she's gone so over the top with these promotions and the internet, because she got to promote herself. Part of the 360
and if she don't come up with that money, she doesn't come up with the money, somewhere down the line, they're gonna breach that contract. We already know that because there's three people here who are getting money from this deal. You got Wayne, you got Salita, and you got Papoose as her handler. Each one of them getting 20%. Now, you got to imagine if they're illegally getting 20% out of what they call a boxing promotion, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they're not privileged to that money. They're ripping her off.
Yeah.
And they keep having to promote for them, and they're not even trying. This is what they did against Franchine Cruz. She was in that match. They would not promote her.
Nope. Not at all. Yep,
that's right. Because she's on the 360. They had her also on the 360 deal. But like I say, go chat the GPT, run that out, and love your family. I'm not gonna stay loud. Love you, Chief, and keep doing your business, big guy, because you're hitting it out. And my boy told you that. He told me to say hello to you. That's Boss Hog. He's gonna be my new boxer because I'm gonna be headed down there to Texas to go down and do a little training with him. So
he watches the show. Boss Hog watches the show.
Yes, sir, he does. He's a close friend of Earl Spence.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he used to have a thing online, but me and him, we got to know each other real good during the time. He was doing a little boxing, but now things are changing. He has to be more at work and everything. But that situation with Claressa is it's nasty. But like I say, when you go on ChatGPT and it gives you what I know it's going to give you, your eyes are really going to get opened up. She got shafted.
Dang.
And you see that every record that she puts out for him, if it doesn't come up to what they put into producing that record, she's got to pay.
Wow. She got to pay.
Yeah,
So
everything. She was. You know what they saw coming? The one question that like Coach F was asking me, he was saying, how many entertainers do they have for Wayne Salita that are making any money? Not very many. Claressa seems to be the only one that has any money. So he who has the money gets picked on. And remember when they first announced the contract, they said she had an $8 million contract.
Right.
They didn't say it was a boxing contract. See what I'm saying? Nowhere was it said, was it a boxing contract? They just left you to think about it. And actually, it's a 360. And it has nothing to do with a boxing contract. Usually, entertainment companies, like you got two types of promotional companies. You got boxing promoters and you got musical promoters. And this is what Salita Wayne is. That's exactly what they are. They're trying to break into the boxing business. And they're going the wrong way. Hey, Chief, I got to get on off here, my brother.
Okay.
I love your family, and I'll be calling back in from time to time, okay?
Yeah, do that, man. We enjoy when you call in. You take care of yourself.
Okay, you take care of yourself. Love the family. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you. Bye. Oh, boy. So that was my homeboy who called in. And he got us talking and got us out here trying to think and understand what the hell is all this. So I'm going to go through this with y'all, you know what I'm saying? Because I pulled it up and skimmed over it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something different. I'm actually going to go over it with you. He mentioned ChatGPT, so I went there. And, I pulled some stuff up, and we're just going to sit here and just kind of go through it together because everybody's interested, you know what I'm saying? So I'll take my time and just kind of peruse over it, and we can do it together as a team. Now, right here it says, let me see if I can do this real quick. Right here. The biggest difference, a standard boxing promotional contract. You think you fight, I promote. A traditional promotional arrangement primarily concerns the boxer's boxing career, only the boxing career. That makes sense. Depending on the contract, it can address number of fights, minimum purses. All of this sounds correct to me. Fight dates, opponent selection, promotional rights, broadcasting, streaming arrangements, ticket and event promotion, options, extensions, merchandise connected to boxing event, promotional expenses, termination provisions. Okay, that all sounds straightforward to me. It says right here, state of boxing regulations. Let me do this real quick for y'all. There we go. Bring it in a little bit more. Okay. That should be better. Here we go. State boxing regulations commonly require contracts to spell out things such as fighter's guarantee or percentage, round date, location, weight requirements, and legal obligations, right? So the key idea is that the promoter's economic interest is primarily connected to putting on fights and monetizing the fighter's boxing career. Now, that makes sense. But now when you come down here, you start talking about the 360 deal. Now, this is where it gets a little bit interesting, okay? A 360 arrangement is a lot broader. It's not just about the boxer, the promoter, and fights. The concept originated in music where a company can participate in multiple revenue streams beyond the core recording business. That's crazy, including touring, merchandise publishing, endorsements, and other entertainment income. The exact scope is determined by the contract. So now let's apply that to a boxer. Where am I at right here? It says now, imagine standard deal, fight purse, promoter participates, right? Straightforward, we know that. The 360 deal, you have the fight purse, the endorsements, sponsorships, merchandise, appearances, music, content, other specified income the company may participate. So this is telling you in a standard boxing contract, the fight purse, promoter gets a percentage, and that's pretty much it. But in the 360 deal, the company, Wynn Records, gets some of everything. You understand? So that means Claressa is paying her promoter when she fights, and she's paying Wynn Records when she fights. She's also paying Wynn Records. Now, of course, it depends on what the contract specifies, but on all these other areas, it could be on all these other areas. So basically, anything she does where she makes money, they can get a percentage. Now, this doesn't automatically make the 360 deal bad. It means that the boxer needs to understand exactly what they're giving up in exchange for what the company is providing. And we don't know if Claressa used a lawyer. We don't know what she did. We know that she says, I know math. She doesn't need a financial advisor. For somebody who has that kind of shit mentality, that tells me that she probably didn't need a lawyer when Papoose brought this contract to her. Because remember, she had left Dmitry Salita and was over there negotiating with Jake Paul, an MVP. And Wynn Records supposedly came along and offered her a whole lot more money. And then she decided the better option for her was to work with Wynn Records and Dmitry Salita instead of working with MVP. Now, that's crazy. Now, the shocking part. Now, we're just talking hypotheticals now, right? Imagine that Claressa Shields earns $2 million from boxing and $1 million from endorsements. Under a narrow boxing arrangement, traditional boxing contract, the promoter might primarily participate in the boxing-related economics specified by the agreement, right? So that means the promoter only gets a piece of the money earned from boxing, nothing from the endorsements. But a 360 contract could give the company a certain percentage, 15%, of certain non-boxing revenue streams. This shit can mean Roth IRA investments, endorsements, etc. Any non-boxing revenue stream falls under this umbrella. So that $1 million endorsement portfolio could generate $150,000 for the 360 partner. Now, multiply that across 5 years, multiple sponsors, merchandise, music, appearance fees, social media opportunities, licensing, other entertainment income. Suddenly the percentage becomes a very serious number. And that's why fighters need lawyers to examine these agreements before signing. It doesn't seem like that happened with Claressa. She just went with the flow. And the thing that jumps out here is social media opportunities. That could explain why she's such a fool out here on social media. You understand? That could explain why she's going on some of these different shows too, doing these interviews. And we were like, why is she going here? She's probably getting paid something to go out here and be on these shows. It also explains the dumbass Sukiban. She goes on Sukiban because she got paid and Wynn Records. So now when I'm out here, when I'm out here saying, why in the hell is Claressa Shields going after all this low-hanging fruit? Remember, those are the words I use. They like picking low-hanging fruit. Well, now we know why. They're hustling. Wynn Records is hustling. So I see it as low-hanging fruit. They see it, okay, she does this, we get paid. So they're going to keep her doing shit. Well, I'm going to see it as low-hanging fruit. You may see it as low-hanging fruit because as long as she's picking them, they get paid. Doesn't care if it's ripe or not. As long as they're getting something, they don't care. They're pimping her. Now, the biggest downside, right? Check this out. You can create a huge career and share the upside. This is the part fighters sometimes underestimate. Suppose you're an unknown fighter. A company says we'll invest heavily in you. That's attractive. But then you become a superstar. Your endorsement values explode. Your social media becomes enormous. This is all Claressa Shields. Your appearance fees increase. I would think that would be the case. Merchandise takes off. She's trying. She got a line. I think she got like a lip gloss and chapstick or something. Anyway, she's trying. The music entertainment career develops. She's trying. They're pushing her in all these different areas. You know what I mean? They're working her harder than a slave. And suddenly the company that helped you build your platform may have contractual participation in several of those revenue streams. This is why you see Claressa trying to be involved in so many different things. They're just trying to see what's going to catch fire so they can make money off of her. And that's the 360 trade-off. You receive infrastructure and investment. They receive broader participation in your upside. That is crazy. Now, the downside, giving up future income. This is potentially the biggest issue. The fighter might think they're taking 10% today, but the important question is 10% of what? 10% of 100,000 isn't the same as 10% of 10 million. And if the contract covers multiple revenue categories, the opportunity cost can become enormous as the fighter's career grows. Shit. That's why they were pushing for that Layla Ali fight, because they wanted to make all that money off that Layla Ali fight, because they would have got a huge payout. You know what I'm saying? 15% of 10 million is 1.5. Imagine if Claressa were to make 100 million doing something. I don't think she'll get there, but I'm not going to wish bad on nobody. That means Papoose and Wynn Records, they get paid. It sounds like the same thing Remy Ma was talking about, giving him 20%. Papoose was sitting there doing the Remy, same thing he's doing to Claressa. And if the contract covers multiple revenue categories, the opportunity cost can become enormous as a fighter's career grows. That is wild. Second downside, the contract can follow you beyond the ring. This is where a boxer needs to pay extremely close attention. A fighter might eventually retire from boxing, but continue earning money through commentary, television, speaking, coaching, acting, music, social media, brand partnerships, books, merchandise. That is crazy. You retire from boxing, you keep earning money through all these things. If those categories fall inside the contractual definition and covered income, the relationship may continue economically even when the fighter isn't fighting. This is why Papoose is telling her he's going to marry her. This is why she like, Papoose loves me. He divorced Remy to be with me. He's going to be with me. We're going to have a kid. We get married. Because Papoose has her thinking, I'm going to be with you. We're going to be together. Don't worry. So she's like, shit, we're going to make this money together and the money stays in the house. Papoose hustled her, man. That's what it seems to me. That's my opinion, just what it seems. Because to think that if Claressa were to change her attitude and clean up her act, people can be forgiven. Maybe all of a sudden she takes off in all these areas. But her and Papoose aren't together. She can't do nothing. He still gets a piece of everything. Damn. That's why the definition section of the contract can be more important than the flashy headline numbers. And the only thing she talked about was the headline numbers. I got 3 million signing bonus, 8 million across 4 fights and this and that, and y'all broke bums, y'all this and that. Claressa Shields, how'd you let this happen to you? Because you're in a 360. I don't know the specifics of the contract, but I would think it would probably be more robust than what I put up on ChatGPT. I would think they got her ass to the grave. Now, conflicts of interest. Here's another major question. Who controls the opportunities? All right. Now, suppose a company has an interest in your boxing career and your entertainment career. What happens when you want one sponsor, they prefer another? You want to make music, they want a different musical strategy. You want to appear somewhere, they don't think it's commercially useful. You want to launch your own business. The contract needs to explain who has authority. That just makes me think about that clip I saw where Remy was saying, I just got out of prison. I don't want no one telling me what to do. Sometimes I just want to chill. And Papoose was like, nah, we need you working. this is what it sounds like. You know, you want to do certain things with your career, but they have a different vision. And now that creates a problem because they're going to want you doing things where they can make money. You know what I'm saying? And it sounds like it's the whole "we'll build your brand," and that can be very vague. And that's why Clarissa's out here talking so much about her brand now. Layla Ali tried to square her away. She didn't listen. And now everybody right now is laughing at Claressa. Let me tell you, nobody, you kind of feel sorry for her for about 5 seconds and then you snap back to reality. Think about how nasty she's been. Calling people dumb, making fun of children, making fun of families, making fun of fellow fighters, making fun of the civilian, calling people old, broke bums, everything that she said. So nobody feels sorry for her. So good luck on them building your brand by having you show your vagina and tits out here on social media looking trashy. And this is being real. I ain't making that up. Go look at that goddamn Instagram page. Had a whole vajayjay out. And look at these images she got with these sequence dresses and shit. You can see her breasts. I guess that's how they build the brand. And this is where she should have been careful. Contract can promise you all kind of things. Marketing, promotional support. Sounds good, but what does that actually mean? You know what I'm saying? Does it guarantee marketing, a publicist, social media engagement, sponsorship sales, television appearances, brand partnerships, music production, content production? That's why she's out here doing all this crazy music. But does it guarantee that they're going to make you a success, or is it just, hey, we'll try our best? Because the difference could be worth millions. That's what it looks like to me. They're just kind of hot winging it. You know what I'm saying? Now, the downside, recoupment. This is another word every fighter should understand. And remember, this is just a conversation. I'm not telling you this is what her contract entails. This is kind of what some of these 360 deals look like. Because I don't know what her contract looks like. This is another word every fighter should understand. A company might spend money developing an athlete. Depending on the contract, certain expenses may be recoupable before the fighter receives particular revenue. That means we spent $500,000 developing you, could potentially become that $500,000 comes out the revenue covered by the agreement. The exact accounting rules are going to be contract specific. That's why fighters need
Granger knows that as an HVAC technician, the heat is on you every day. Your first call? An office building with a noisy AC unit. Time to put your experience to work.
Oh, it's one of my lives about to come on. I'm sorry about that. Because I was wondering what the hell that was. What happened there? Okay. There we go. I should have muted that. So the bottom line is, we spent $500,000 developing you, could potentially become that $500,000 comes out of the revenue covered by the agreement. The exact accounting rules are contract specific. That's why fighters need someone independently reviewing the books. And this is where Claressa Shields has a very interesting case study. Y'all know that's how we've been referring to her since probably the end of last year. It's like a case study, a real life case study. Because she's not simply a boxer. I say that every night. She has Olympic credentials, championship history, a recognizable name, media value, social media reach, entertainment opportunities, sponsorship potential if she cleans up her attitude, music, creative opportunities. So a 360 company isn't necessarily looking at her simply as Claressa the boxer. It can be Claressa the entire entertainment brand, which is what I've been saying, what you all have been saying, and now we understand. She's a much bigger commercial asset. And that's exactly why the contract term matters. Damn. So the questions fans should be actually asking, instead of why would Claressa sign that, it should be what did she receive in exchange for giving up those rights? Maybe the company provides capital, marketing, entertainment production, music infrastructure, sponsorship opportunities, brand development, public relations, content production, business development, access to entertainment executives. If the company generates $10 million worth of opportunities and receives a contractual percentage, that could potentially be a very good deal. But if the company contributes very little while retaining substantial participation in the fighter's income, that's a completely different story. Let me read that again. If the company generates $10 million worth of opportunities and receives a contractual percentage, that could be a very good deal. I understand that. But if the company contributes very little while retaining substantial participation in the income, that's a different story. Now, I agree with that. If they create huge opportunities for her that she could have never created, well, they deserve a percentage. I agree. But if they're not doing much of anything and these opportunities are being presented to her based off of her name, her brand, and with or without the company, she would have got them, but they're getting a percentage, well, that's foul. That's foul. And that's what it seems like is going on right now. So the most important question. Excuse me, I was sneezing. All right, got it all out my system. The most important question, does a 360 deal compete with the boxing deal? This is where having two agreements becomes particularly interesting. And it does sound like she has two separate deals. She has a relationship with Salita, then she has a 360 relationship with Wynn Records. So she has two contracts, but they say it's not that simple. It's what right does each contract control? For example, Salita could be boxing promotion, Wynn potentially music, entertainment, and whatever additional rights the actual contract grants. The contract should define who controls what. And that's where, and if there's an overlap, the agreement should address it. Hold on one second. All right, I'm back. Don't want to be blowing my nose while I'm doing this damn video. So this is crazy, man. You know what I'm saying? Now, the contract should define who controls what. But if there's overlap, the agreement should address it. And it sounds like there's some overlap. But she's saying that she has a contract with Wynn, then she has a contract with Dmitry Salita. Now, I haven't seen the actual documents, and like ChatGPT says, we can't, really claim what's going on here. But I think she's being screwed. But we won't know unless we see the contract. But I think she is. It just doesn't make any sense. She was doing just fine before all of this. I thought she was in a better space before when Records came on board. That's just my opinion. But what I know, I'm on the outside looking in. Now, this double dipping fear. This is what boxing fans should understand. Suppose promoter receives contractual economics from boxing, meaning he gets money from her as a fighter, just from boxing. The 360 company receives money from other covered income. The fighter needs to know whether there are any situations where multiple parties are being paid from the same revenue stream. That's not automatically illegal or improper. It's simply something that needs to be understood. Because the fighter's question should always be, after everybody gets paid, how much actually reaches me? That's the number that matters. And this is where the OG was talking about, Salita gets 20%, and then Wynn Records, you got three people over there, I believe, who's getting 20%. So it makes you wonder, if everybody's getting 20%, like 2, 3, 4 people, how much money is Claressa getting? You know what I'm saying? How much reaches Big Whoa? Even I'm sitting here trying to figure that out. So I agree with what ChatGPT is saying here. Every fighter, first of all, do what you want. But man, that 360 agreement, I don't know much about it, but I've heard everybody talk about it, even Kanye. They're talking about getting screwed in these deals, man. A 360 agreement sounds like it's just all bad. But if you're going to have somebody put a contract in front of you, any fighter who claims to be smart, intelligent, can write, read, math. It's Claressa's word. I can math. I can read, I can write. Man, please. Okay. Hopefully you had an independent boxing attorney, not the company's lawyer, look at this contract. You know what I'm saying? You should have an entertainment attorney, especially if music, television, or entertainment rights are involved. An accountant who understands athlete entertainment income. A tax professional, because earning $5 million doesn't mean keeping $5 million. An independent financial advisor, someone who, for some reason, Clarissa's been convinced that a financial advisor is the worst person to talk to and allow to look at your money. I wonder why. And in a contract audit, every revenue category should be identified. So questions that should be asked before signing anything. How many years? What happens after the contract expires? What percentage does the company receive? What percentage of gross and net? Which revenue streams? Who controls sponsorship? Sponsorships? Who controls merchandise? Who owns the intellectual property? Who owns music recordings? Who controls social media content? What expenses are recoupable? Is there a spending limit? And y'all can read the rest of that, you know what I'm saying? It is crazy. Because at the end of the day, those questions can be worth millions. You know what I'm saying? Millions and millions of dollars. That big vote may be given away to Papoose, and all he has to do is sit back and do nothing, even if they break up. Him and Wynn Records are chilling, and everything she does, they get a percentage. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Now, the shock and awe boxing lesson. A boxing contract can say, we make money when you fight. A 360 agreement can potentially say, we participate in other things you make money from too. And that's why a fighter can sign a deal that looks amazing on Instagram and still discover years later that the fine print is where the real fight was. Damn. So the contract isn't necessarily bad. The 360 model isn't necessarily exploitation. But the broader the rights, the more important the negotiation. And for a fighter who becomes extremely valuable, I'm just telling you, man, giving away a small percentage of huge future career earnings can become much more expensive than giving away that same percentage when the fighter was unknown. Damn, man. It's like they got it, y'all. Big whoop. Talking the talk, but don't know how to walk the walk. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Woman has 2 contracts. She says she has 2 contracts. And they put that money up in front of her face and had her souped up. And here it is, man, for the rest of her life, more than likely. It depends on that contract. As far as an expiration and all that, I don't think she read shit. She didn't say nothing about her lawyers or nothing. She just talking about the deal. They're talking about the money, the money, the money. That's what they do. They push the money, the money, the money. Damn. Anyway, they know better than me. I'm just thinking worst case scenario. Maybe it works out. I don't know. But the shit doesn't look good to me. Y'all keep cool. 2 contracts, boxing deal. Who gets her millions? I want to know what happens when she dies. If she has any assets and stuff like that, do they get some of that shit too? Boy, boy, boy. Y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.